A word from our sponsor. Um, Thank you all. This certainly seems like a summer gathering rather than a late spring gathering, given the day and the quality of it. But we are going to proceed with this presenter showcase. For those of you that are not as familiar with Slow Money Maine, we have found this model of presenter showcase to be very useful in our programming in the past 10 or 11 years, because it gives a chance for investor prospects, for technical assistance mentors, for consumers, for nonprofit staff of many organizations to get a deeper sense of the for-profit and nonprofit businesses and organizations that are all active participants in building a healthy, local, viable food system in Maine. So typically when we've done these in person, many connections are made that we would never have strategized. People meet each other in the networking time around the presentations. They learn about people and what they're about and follow up on their own, or we gently help them to meet each other. And it's been a very effective tool. So I'm happy to be part of offering this again. And thank all of you for being part of this. So we're going to have a mix of for-profit businesses in the form of a food co-op, Gardner Food Co-op, poultry processing with Commonwealth Poultry, also in Gardner, and the Aroostook Band of Micmacs. I really don't care. I don't know the name of your aquaculture business. Can you tell me what it's called? Unmute yourself. Unmute, please, so I can hear you. Okay.
We'll figure it out, Bonnie. Why don't you keep going?
Okay. All right. So rather than continue with any words. Sorry?
Okay. I thought I couldn't hear, so I called in and then, all right.
Whoops. Now we can't hear you.
Okay.
Yay.
Is there any feedback?
Much better.
Okay. So we are just Micmac Farms and Hatchery.
Okay, Micmac Farms and Hatchery. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the nonprofits we're going to hear from will be Presente Maine and a new endeavor called A Chapter of Slow Food USA, with a chapter in Maine that Michelle will tell us more about. So welcome everyone. And we're just going to launch in. And oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that the other nonprofit is Katie Branch from the Allendale Community Garden, and she's going to start us off. So take it away, Katie.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here and really, really appreciate all the work that Slow Money Maine has done. And so my name's Katie Branch, and I am one of the co-founders of the Allendale Community Garden. My children's father died in 2008 and left a parcel of land in the center of Norway to them. And to work with the grief of losing him, and frankly, the grief of all the losses in the world, from climate change to racism, poverty, extinctions, et cetera, we decided to put our hands towards working with that soil and our community to take local action to address global issues. We invited the community to envision how we could best use the property, and all decided a community garden was a great idea. Our mission is to cooperatively create an educational demonstration garden where people can grow their own food using organic, sustainable methods to support a enduring community food system. It's a mouthful. It's a big mission. A dozen years ago when we started, I never would have imagined that we would have been able to actually accomplish all the things that we've been able to accomplish thus far. So right now, Oxford County has 13% of the households that are food insecure, and 33% of adults are obese, and 61% of children are enrolled in free or reduced lunch. So we are a super socioeconomically depressed area with a lot of challenges. And the community garden has developed a lot of local food access programs to help improve health outcomes in the Western foothills. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Let's see if I can do all this. That is our website. And also a link to a program that we're working on right now. And I'm going to share my screen and show you a little piece of the community garden. So like most community gardens, we provide land access, gardening tools, education, and support to anyone who wants to grow food. We also install raised beds at schools, at Head Start sites, and at personal residences for those who prefer to garden at home. We have a garden share or a CSA program that aggregates purchases from local farms to support the farmers and expand the offerings in our CSA. And the Somali Bantu Community Association's Liberation Farms has been a mainstay of our CSA and market, providing beautiful produce and connections since we started the market. That's been a real treat to be able to partner with them. We work and play and eat alongside our youth leaders. I'm going to switch the screen here. There they are. In our youth leadership program, and we share valuable lifelong skills for self-reliance and how to take local action to address global issues such as climate change, food justice, and equity. And I was going to tell you a story about Frankie. So Frankie was 13 when he came to the youth leadership program. He was kind of a pudgy little fella who was very funny, cracked lots of jokes. He's a great guy, but he was totally distracted, really didn't know how to do a lick of work, and was kind of a pain. I ran into Frankie a year after the youth leadership program at the high school, and he was like standing up straight and tall. He had muscles. He was confident. I was like, Frankie, what happened? And he was like, well, I joined the wrestling team. And I was like, that's awesome. And then the next year, he showed up at the community garden, just swung by for a visit, and we happened to be doing a videotape of the youth leaders asking them, like, how did the garden affect them? And he said, oh, me, I'll tell you how it affected me. I was like, well, go for it. He said, when I came to the garden, I was pre-diabetic. I sat on the couch and ate potato chips because both my parents were working, and I didn't know anything about nutrition or exercise. When I came to the garden, I started eating healthier. I started, actually getting exercise and being outside. And he said, and now, I did join the wrestling team. I've done really well. And I'm a volunteer firefighter for our local town. So that's just one tiny little snippet of what has happened for some of the young people who've gone through the youth leadership program at the garden. Super, super proud of the work we've done there. We also have a cooking SNAP Ed programs that make sure that people understand that every food dollar counts by teaching them how to shop, how to store and cook food. Our SNAP Ed cooking classes teach essential skills, create community resiliency, and work towards reducing food insecurity. A lot of those are family classes, so we have all ages of people come in to learn how to cook together as families. So it's also really brings a lot of opportunity for families to do something special together. And throughout the summer, I'm going to switch screens again. Let's see if I can do this. I can do this. Sorry. So throughout the summer, we have a community farmers market, and it connects consumers with local farmers while promoting food access to families with low income. The market provides common ground for community members to engage, reducing isolation and disconnection, which are identified as root causes for poor health outcomes in Oxford County. And a number of these programs were a lifeline for people through COVID. We got a lot of feedback that being able to come into a safe communal space where the COVID the safety measures were being followed really made a huge difference for folks. In our commitment to creating accessibility for people, we've done a bunch of different things. We started off with scholarships, and then we went to sliding scale, and now almost everything that we do is by donation. So we've really learned a lot in the process of being able to work with our community. We're also committed to the state's LD 1159, which is a resolve to end hunger in Maine by 2030. And we're lucky to have Pratt Olson, who's an AmeriCorps Vista service member, who's helping us to work with people and bring more access around WIC, SNAP, school nutrition, Maine Senior Farm Share Program, and the Child and Adult Food Program. And we've done all of this in very minimal cooking facility. You can see that is an old pole barn and a pavilion that we've been on outside burners and moving all of our kitchen equipment around. And so this year we're, even though so we've had an impact already with tons and tons of people. And this year we're working towards creating a garden to table kitchen, classroom, and greenhouse that will come off the left side of the barn over there. That will help us to be able to expand all of these programs and have it be like a real kitchen where people can, be safe and clean. And we'll be able to grow more seedlings because we do things like we have a seedling sale. We sell organic seeds, and we're hoping to expand our cooking classes and being able to offer opportunities for people to learn how to preserve foods and for young people to be able to do some food entrepreneurship. So there's a link in the chat to that project, and really appreciate the opportunity to share what's going on at the community garden with you guys. And I hope you'll come. It's in Norway. I have no idea what time it was. I wasn't paying attention.
Thank you, Katie. That's wonderful. I forgot to mention that we're going to have all the presenters do their presentations before we do Q&A, and then we'll just have all of them highlighted together on the screen so you can ask questions as you need and want to. We're going to proceed to Ken and Penny from Gardner Food Co-op, sharing what's been going on there. Are you with
Katie,
us?
that was wonderful. You're a tough act to follow. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. And I don't think I've not met most of you in person. I'm Ken Holmes talking with you today on behalf of the Gardner Food Co-op. I'm the co-op's volunteer board chairman. And with me here is Penny Mosher, our general manager, who's the real star of our show at the co-op. The Gardner Food Co-op and Cafe is a small, sorry about that. It's a small retail grocery store supplying people in the southern Kennebec Valley with healthy food, mostly organic, mostly local. We support about 100 Maine farmers and producers, and we're adding new vendors seemingly almost daily this year. It's been great to see. The co-op opened 6 years ago this month in a renovated storefront in downtown Gardner. The core of our business is the sale of produce, dairy, meats, cheeses, and groceries. We also have a small cafe that serves breakfast and lunch, and you should have some of Penny's soups. They're truly wonderful. We've learned a few things as it relates to today's topic about keeping it local, and I'll share just 3 ideas. First, I think we've shown that Maine people seek out and really appreciate healthy, locally grown and processed Maine food. Second, when it comes to food, keeping it ultra local, alas, is pretty much impossible for a store like ours. For better or worse, our customers want avocados, and then there's this thing up here in Maine called winter. And third, ours is a fragile local business. We compete against larger retailers in a notoriously profit-challenged industry. many of the farmers and producers we do business with are also represent fragile local businesses. We rely on each other here in Maine, and when we do things right at the co-op, we strengthen each other. We strengthen the farmers and they us. Let me elaborate just real quick on a couple of those points. As to the sale of locally grown food, our co-op was founded in the basic idea that local shoppers would seek out and support a store specializing in local and organic foods that aren't always available in the Hannaford's and Walmarts of the world. And the steady growth of our sales over the first 4 years the validity of this belief. Like other food co-ops here in Maine, several of which sell literally millions of dollars a year of Maine foods. On our local offerings and they snap them up. Customers want what they want, and people have become accustomed to buying what they want no matter what the season. And so we try to accommodate them. But the reality is we don't really have the buying power of some of the big box stores. But here's the good news. We sell Maine lettuce and tomatoes and mushrooms and root crops year round. We sell beef and poultry year round. That's grown right here in Maine. We offer Maine milk and cheese and yogurt year round. As we do that, we find our customers will bear with us during those months when other things are not so local. And then I'm going to share the time with Penny, who can talk a bit more about some of the wonderful local businesses that we do business with.
I actually would like to highlight a couple, 3 of our businesses that have been integral in my success at the co-op as the manager. I came on in September of last year when the co-op was in a pretty bad financial place, which Ken's going to talk about in a couple minutes. And the local connections are really what were integral in my success as the new manager coming on. Oakland Farm in Gardner and Andrews Farm also in Gardner are 2 of the places that we support the most. And they also supported us when we were in a very bad place. Logan Johnston, the owner of the Oakland Farm, longtime Gardner resident and co-op supporter. He stayed loyal to us despite the financial struggles we were going through, and would happily bring me 10 pounds of ground beef if that's what I needed, just to keep something on the shelf. And then there's Mike from Andrews Farm. He was the first local farmer relationship that I had to repair, and there were many in our financial dire state that we were in. And all it took was a very small conversation to him about what the struggles were going on, what the facts were, and what the reality of the situation was. And he kept us full of greens all winter, lettuces, spinach, and Swiss chard, which the customers were so happy to have. And the last one is Misty Brook Farm, a dairy and meat farm in Albion, a very quiet supporter of the co-op. They never asked for money when we were not paying the bills, and graciously continued to supply our co-op with milk, which is a vital asset that we have to have in a small retail grocery store. And when I came on and started paying their bills, my son is actually one of their delivery drivers, and he had a conversation with Kesha about what was going on at the co-op. And this is a quote that he shared with me. And she said, "I knew if I continued to be good to the co-op, that they would be good to us." And that's the relationship that we actually strive for with our vendors, especially the local small farmers, one of trust, respect, and faith. And Ken's going to talk just a little bit more, even though our time is up.
Well, and Penny's alluded to some of the financial problems our little co-op was having before she joined as general manager, and actually before I got on the board. The cool news is we're feeling much better now. I can talk a little bit more, another minute and a half, or I can just we can answer some questions later on. Carrie, which would be better?
You can take another minute and a half.
Sure. So, thank you. So 2 years ago, our little co-op began falling behind in paying its bills. And in retrospect, people who'd founded the co-op probably hadn't raised enough money to see it through to profitability. And they probably hadn't spent as much time and effort as they should have in just outreach and marketing to the community. As money got tight, we fell behind in paying our vendors, and this hurt our local farmers and suppliers. And frankly, more than a few of them responded by just stopping doing business with us. They rely on us, we rely on them, and we had let them down. When that happened, our sales began to suffer, first a little and later a lot, because the range of food in our shelves was becoming more scarce and it was becoming much less local, which was what we were all about. By a year ago at this time, we were in a death spiral. We came at one point within, about 36 hours of not being able to make payroll and just having to shut the doors permanently. But then a funny thing happened. First, several anonymous donors, benefactors came forward with just gifts. They wanted to see us survive. These gifts allowed us to hire Penny and keep our doors open. And they bought us a bit of time as we explored and then availed ourselves of COVID relief monies. To date, we've secured since then about $125,000 in grants and forgivable loans through various state and federal economic relief programs related to COVID. And this has allowed us to pay back nearly all of our local vendors. We've hired more staff, we've extended hours. We're not out of the woods yet, but we're on the way. And as we brought back local foods to our shelves and really highlighted that we're a Maine company, we're trying to be ultra local and ultra fresh. The second funny thing is happening. Our customers are returning. They're coming back more quickly than we anticipated, or even that we dared hope for. It's wonderful to see. And so it turns out our emphasis on local and organic, we think, was correct after all. And that's great for our vendors, great for our customers, and great for us as a business. And with that, thanks so much. And this is a cool concept.
Thanks for including us. And I want to
Yes.
just shout out a quick thank you to Bonnie, since it's the first time I've seen her in person since I came on at the co-op.
So,
Thank you both so much. And for those of you that didn't know, a Penny's association with Sheepscot General Store, that set of experiences in the community with the values that matter there set her up really well, and the co-op leaders to make the strides that they've made and get through tougher times and look to a brighter future. So bravo to perseverance. And
she's a good teacher, Bonnie. So
well, not having met you yet, Ken, you ain't so bad yourself from the presentation you gave hints about. So,
yeah, I'm just an old journalist. I know how to talk. I don't know much, but I know how to talk.
well, I'm sure that you both
Thank you
are part
all.
of the team spirit that has made a difference. Thank you both. Okay, we're going
Thanks.
to move on to one of the nonprofits of the day, Crystal Crone and Presente Maine.
Thank you. I said I wasn't going to share my screen, but I lied. So I just want to share this graphic with you, and I'm just going to leave it here for a minute. If you can read it on your own, and then I'll begin by sharing my story. So I'll just be quiet for a minute. So before I get into who and why these questions were posed, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about me. I'm a displaced and landless Indigenous person. My mom is an immigrant from Peru, and our ancestors are from the Andes Mountains. And I've been living with constant anxiety and fear about not having anywhere to go my whole life. Being a landless Indigenous person is devastating, and not knowing where, where do you come from? Where do you belong? I grew up in Maine. I moved to Maine when I was 5 years old. And I feel very connected to the land here, but very disconnected from the people. And people ask me a lot, where am I from? And I don't know what to say because I was born in this country. But I don't really feel roots here. But when I go home, there's no place for me either. So yeah, being the granddaughter, the great granddaughter of colonized peoples is a huge weight that I've been carrying my whole life. And I have this legacy of colonial pain that has been passed down from generation to generation through all the women in my family. But at the same time as that, I learned about Indigenous love and like this warrior love from my mom and my grandmother. So that's how I've been able to survive, is through revolutionary love and not accepting my own extermination and not accepting other people silencing me and taking away my voice. So I've been working in my community, trying to build up the voice and power of my community for years in big and small ways, but mostly invisible and unrecognized. And then at the beginning of COVID, I took a trip to the grocery store and when I saw the shelves empty, it was like, I don't know, like a bell started ringing in my head, like these flashes or like memories or something of like when greed and anxiety and fear take over, we're the first ones to go. And I just imagined, resources, the flow of resources stopping, and who's going to die first. And that's us, and that's always been us. So at the time, my partner was working at a local restaurant, and they had offered to share their commercial accounts for us to buy food in bulk. So the next day I proposed to them buying bulk foods, thousands of pounds of bulk food, and to start putting that out into my community. So I think we started with 200 pounds of beans and rice, packed that in our kitchen, and delivered it to people the very next day. And then after that, it was 2,000, and then 5,000, and then 15,000 pounds of food a week. And we grew from 50 people to now 2,000 people. And so we were very focused on feeding the most people that we could, getting it to them in the most efficient ways, getting them nutritious and culturally relevant food, because mainstream food banks were unwilling or unable to shift their model quickly enough to meet people's needs. And also just like historically have been inaccessible because of the types of food they provide. They're far away, people don't have cars, people don't know about them, people don't trust. And so, yeah, it was just this idea of not having to rely on anybody, but to get our hands directly on the source, and to alleviate people's fear and anxiety so that we could think of collective solutions. Because when COVID came, everything happened so quickly and everybody was just in crisis. And it became clear to me that we needed to respond. We needed to respond in a big collective way, and that trying to meet people's needs one at a time wasn't going to work. So we did food drops, not only at people's houses that we knew, but to everyone in poor neighborhoods. And then in the summer, we also started farming. And with this focus on letting our hearts and our minds and our fingers and spirits lead the work, and not doing farming from like a European productivity mind frame, right? Like a lot of us were just hobby gardeners, or had experience growing food, but we don't know anything about like the science or how to use the square footage perfectly. We just did it, and we started very late in the season, and just experimenting, and we grew 25,000 pounds of food. But really it was about us having connection to land and us being in our bodies. People in my community, they travel here thousands of miles on foot, and they think they're coming to a better life. And then they get here and then they ask me, why is the food in the United States so bad? Because they can only eat at Save-A-Lot. And so they don't even know the rich agriculture that we have here in Maine, because they can't afford it. So for me, that's really painful and devastating. Seeing Indigenous people from, rural farming backgrounds coming here and even having worse was really transformative to see people just being in connection with the land and growing their own foods, and feeling in charge and feeling like nobody's watching them, nobody's telling them what to do and how to do it, and that we can just be with the land and be ourselves, and that there's no right answers. Like the way that we commune and the way that we connect with the soil and with plants is the right way, because it's us doing it. I think that's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. And I just want to give a little personal touch to this very inspiring and dynamic young woman that I have never met in person, but feel soul connected to already and look forward to meeting. But I learned about Crystal because I was doing an article for Jumbo newspaper, people know of that, about food insecurity, and learned about the food brigade that Crystal pretty much single-handedly at the beginning got moving. And I was so inspired that she was able to transform the pain that she lives with on a daily basis to action and community action and meaningful impact that touches the spirit that is still alive in her and in her people. And I also want to mention the networking within Slow Money Maine that I was able to participate in, and that Crystal just spoke of. The farming that she was able to do this summer with her community members was related to land and commons work, with matching people in need of growing with people who had space for growing. So that connection was made, and this land connection, as most of us know that are connected with the food we eat, touches the soul in a way that nothing else does. And it allows the possibility of dreaming into land ownership, which is another piece of the hope that I know Crystal holds. And another connection was that, and it's also going to be represented in another presenter today, but as I learned of food needs and the networking that I have done through the years of Slow Money Maine, I was able to talk to Ryan Wilson at Commonwealth Poultry and get chicken that Crystal wanted for her community members. And Crystal already had made a connection with Bill Soretta at Fork Food Lab to provide the refrigeration needs that they had for any food coming from farther away than Portland. And we were able to put all that together in a very short time and get fresh, wholesome food to community members. And we might have gone further with Maine Coast Fishermen to also work with their funding, grant funding for Maine fishermen feeding Mainers. And we were able to get fresh fish to community members with the Food Brigade as well. So all of these connections come together in times of crisis and really, I think, confirm for us the importance of all of us collaborating and holding our values of community really close to our hearts and doing what we can to make a difference. So I just want to thank you, Crystal, for bringing your inspiration and your action to a better world that we all want to create with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we're going to now go to Trey from Commonwealth Poultry, which is a perfect segue. And Trey will probably let you know that he is wearing many hats as a new staff person at Commonwealth Poultry, which is owned and run by Ryan Wilson, who has been with the Slow Money Maine Network since he began in a farm space that was used for starting to grow ducks and chickens in the early days in Whitefield, and now to a much more developed facility in Gardner. But I'll let you fill it in, Trey. Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bonnie. And thanks so much for having me on here. And it's great to share the space with so many great stories and people, some customers and some one-time experience like with Presente Maine, which I hope we can further continue that relationship. And as Bonnie kind of alluded to, Ryan started this company with just identifying a need that some local restaurants needed. You know, it started out with 6 ducks. He grew those all the way through the process, from raising the birds to slaughtering and processing, turning into a delectable meal, to a now ever-growing kind of enterprise that I'm very proud to be a part of. I am currently in the day-to-day operation sales role, so I'm kind of jumping all over the place. We are turning out to be New England's largest air-chilled, all-natural, antibiotic-free food or poultry processor of chicken, duck, and turkey. We are currently in a 3,000 square foot space where everything is done by hand, from unloading the birds, the slaughter, through the evisceration and processing process of turning, whole chickens into various parts. And we'll soon be into about an 11,000 square foot facility where we'll have some, kind of revolutionary automation, alleviating a lot of the stress of our workers, allow them to really take care of our product and give our customers the best and highest quality product kind of out in the market. We're currently running about 4,000 birds a day with 40 people, and soon we'll be able to, and hopefully in the next month or so, be processing about 12,000 birds a day for both ourselves with the Commonwealth brand, as well as providing a processing service to the New England community, where local farmers who are growing smaller lots of birds can bring their birds to us and come out at the back end with a market-ready product with their label as if they choose. So it's something that we're very happy to work with our local community and continue to grow as kind of we are able to take on more farmers and processes. We also just opened up a kitchen where we will to provide, local pre-made meals such as pot pies, pre-marinated poultry parts, as well as chicken and turkey sausage, and it's something that we're very excited. One of the shortcomings what we kind of run into, as Ken mentioned earlier, we live in an area where the majority of our year is it gets very cold, and luckily we're having one of these days where we kind of can forget about a lot of that. But most of our birds come from Pennsylvania throughout the colder months, raised by a collective community group of Mennonite farmers, and they're trucked up here for processing throughout the week. And our next project is to actually start a local barn raised bird system where on our property where we can eliminate almost all transportation costs and greenhouse gases and be trying to as green as possible and provide New England with truly New England raised birds, which will kind of help us get into some of the larger markets such as Whole Foods and some local food markets that require some GAP certifications throughout like the Boston and New York market. So we're very excited about that. That's about a $500,000 venture that we're just in the planning process right now. So it's something that's very early on, but something that we're very committed to because as we kind of develop these relationships throughout New England, the thing that comes up the most is that people want locally raised products. And though we are able to locally process, and that gets us so far, there are some people who just kind of, they really want to have something that's raised in the area that they live in, and with something that they understand and something that we're ever evolving to. But yeah, we're very excited. And thank you guys for having me and be able to answer any questions you guys might have. I'll keep it relatively short. But thank you.
Thank you. I just also want to add, I just have little tidbits today that feel relevant, but as Katie mentioned, the Somali Bantu community is integral to the work of the garden and the farmers market and the work in Norway, Maine. Similarly, Commonwealth Poultry has been connected to the Somali Bantu community for many years, with many of their employees coming from that community. So again, we can work with cross-cultural issues and enhancements to our work and bring them in different ways as suits everyone with mutual satisfaction. And I've just been impressed with Ryan in his visioning for a new facility, an expanded facility to meet the needs of this population of Somali Bantus. He was already imagining a prayer room and a childcare facility as part of the visioning for an expanded facility. So this to me reflects cultural connection and understanding that's really, really essential in our world right now and going forward. So happy to be associated with you and the progress that we have seen in the 10 years that we have been involved with all of you, and wish you well in juggling all the hats that you're wearing, Trey, and happy that you're feeling good about the match of being there. Okay, I guess we're going to move on to Michelle with a very new endeavor of a national group in Maine, and she'll talk about it. Welcome.
Yes, hi.
Michelle.
Thank you. So I'm Michelle DiGirolamo, and pending, yes, this is so new that we are still pending the acceptance of our Mid-Coast Maine Slow Food chapter. So if you're familiar at all with Slow Food USA, it's actually an international group now, and it started 30 years ago in Italy. And I actually love their creation story because this is me as an activist. They were going to have a McDonald's come to Rome, Italy, and the Italians were like, what? We don't want fast food, we want slow food. And their form of protest was to make this big bowl of penne pasta and march it into the square and be like, this is food. And I couldn't agree more. So when I found this, I was like, how is it possible that Maine is not represented here? That's nuts. Really, their concept is that the food that we eat should be good for us. It should be good for the people growing it, and it should be good for our planet. So, sustainability and ethics and slowing down and like knowing your producer, knowing your community, sharing, like everything that you guys are all talking about, which has been just absolutely lovely. So Carrie, get ready. Our slide is that, our food should be good, clean, and fair. And Slow Food has a fantastic slide that I will read to you because I saw this and I was like, oh, come on. So here it says, we believe in the universal right to pleasure. Hallelujah. We cultivate and reinvigorate joyful connection to community, place, culture, and tradition. And right, so much of this is getting lost in our just busy, busy lives. We believe food should taste good. Yes, we do. And then, we are stewards of the earth, protecting natural resources, biodiversity, and for future generations. So important. We respect the interdependence between people and the environment. We promote food that is regional, seasonal, and sustainably grown. Yes, please. And then fair, right? We seek fair compensation for our producers and fair access for consumers. We've been talking about this. And we do welcome everyone to the table. We're dedicated to our global solidarity. We're all in this together. We believe in the humane treatment of livestock, and we represent slow food without ego and self-promotion. So this is a passion project. This is volunteer work. And the idea, being very brand new, we're still working on this, but we are forming our group. It's at Slow Food Midcoast Maine. If you do Instagram, we have 2 followers right now because we're not really, live yet. And we're going to be doing like a new moon newsletter so that we can just kind of build what is already here in our community and make it even a little more accessible and create something fun for this summer. Summer is already like bearing down on us. So we're going to be looking for live events and this community outreach to make it more approachable for folks. And the slowfoodusa.org, if you go on there, you will see so much. It's crazy. There's slow meats and sustainable seafood, slow seafood, coffee, cheese. School gardens are really into school gardens. And they have this joyful justice program, which personally for me, I would love to, Cara O'Donnell, I would love to connect with you. We're interested in being able to make sure that our Indigenous people are represented and that the ways that you work with the earth are, understood and brought forward. So, and also community gardens, I think really is important. And, just getting that food into kids, that healthy kind of food into kids young, and learning more about, our sustainable practices and all of that. So that's just a little taste of what we're here. The mission statement of Slow Food in general is about reconnecting with people, traditions, animals, our soil, and our water. So it's also beautifully important and beautifully presented and works with me in the way that I can protest, which is through enjoyment and sharing. So thank you for your time. Love to connect with you all more, and so happy I could be part of this.
Thanks so much, Michelle. And again, just another piece of community. Carrie and I have known Michelle because we all live in the same area in the Midcoast community. And it was just wonderful when Michelle reached out to us with this new idea at a time earlier in the pandemic when we needed a little jolt, a little breath of fresh air. And there it came. So we're very excited that you're taking this forward, and we're happy to do a bit of promoting for a group that is not focused on self-promotion, but sharing. Thanks so much. And we're going to end presentations with Kara from the Aristic Band of Micmacs, who is going to talk about, of all things, fish production in Aroostook County. Who would think that? She will tell all.
Okay. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure. I know I was having a little difficulty earlier. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, so I'm last. It was overwhelming listening to you all speak and very inspiring. I knew we were all going to have a connection. And where I'm so far north, you know, locally disconnected from you all, I feel like we all really truly share this vision of local food. And I know it probably keeps us all awake at night, how we can promote activity of local food and sustainability. And, you know, to have us all here together is a wonderful thing. And I can see all these little webs shooting out of how we can possibly get stronger together as one. We need like a conference or something, Bonnie. We need to all get together. So my name's Kara O'Donnell. I'm the Natural Resources Director for the Aristic Band of Micmacs up in northern Maine. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about our Micmac farm and our fish hatchery. The Aristic Band of Micmacs became a federally recognized tribe in 1980. So that was about 30 years ago. And we are not traditionally farming people. We tended to migrate with the seasons. So we would be coastal people in the summer months and then travel up the rivers and into the inland areas in the winter to live off the land. So though farming is not integral to our history, aquaculture and fish as a cultural food is. And so in the early years of our natural resources department, we worked a lot with federal agencies like EPA and things to try to practice traditions of fishing and teach that to our children and pass it down through the community. But we realized that cleaning up the rivers as far as removing mercury was not really going to happen, because mercury is an aerial deposited contaminant, and so it continues to come because of the coal-fired power plants in the Midwest. And so, as you know, living in Maine, there is a fish consumption advisory for every river within the state, and the general rule, I believe, is 2 fish meals per week. And if you're pregnant or a nursing woman, you could have 1 fish meal per month. And as you know, so it's even more so important for the pregnant women and those children who are growing. And so this is sort of the reason that we got into aquaculture, so that we could supply that healthy, high energy, clean fish protein source to our tribal community and also to our local community, to address, you know, a lot of health disparities that I've heard other people on this call talk about, and we also experience that in high volume in our community at higher rate than in the state and the national average. And so, you know, you listen to my predecessor talk, and he tells this story all the time, how when the youth would have events or Christmas events, or our Maui Omi, which is our powwow, we would have the pizza place on speed dial, and we would call and get pizza. And now that we have a hatchery, we can serve smoked trout at these events. and we can provide it to our community. And we do have a small farm store up in Caribou where people can come in and buy our produce, but they can also buy our fish. And we're seeing more moms come in, you know, and that makes us so happy to know that they're providing that to their households. What else? So we produce about 12,000 pounds of eastern brook trout a year. It's a Dardanahunk native Maine strain, and oh my gosh, that was not 5 minutes, was it? I didn't do it 5 minutes. So we produce approximately 12,000 pounds of brook trout a year, and we also provide brook trout to the NRCS, the Soil and Water Conservation District offices throughout the state, so that people come in and can purchase our fish when they're about 6 to 8 inches and stock their own ponds if they have that. And so what we're finding is that our facility is not large enough to allow us to reach our mission, which is truly to feed our tribal community and our local community, because it's not profitable. And we're nonprofit. Our mission is not for profit, but we cannot make enough money by providing food fish to the community, so that we have to sell more of our fish for pond stocking sales. And so last year when COVID hit and we weren't sure what the restaurants were going to do, we also sell to restaurants as well. It's part of our revenue strategy. But when COVID hit and we weren't sure if the restaurants were going to remain open, we sold all of our fish in March to the pond stocking, and we can get a lot more money that way. But like I said, we can't reach our mission. And so what we hope to do is expand our hatchery size so that we can provide this product on a larger basis throughout the state, and to others for culturally relevant foods. And I heard you, Crystal, when you talked about culturally relevant foods. And so I don't know if there's a connection there, but we also, you know, our vision is to run our businesses and our travel programs as green and sustainably as we can. And so we're trying to set up solar installations to supply the energy. We're trying to create a way to use our fish waste to concentrate it down so that we can use it as fertilizer. And our system is a reverse recirculating aquaculture system, so it's extremely low water use. And all of these things we're proud of, that we'll be able to produce this for our community. What else do I want to tell you? We do strive to improve access to our local community. So when somebody comes in with WIC or Harvest Bucks or Senior Farm Share Program, we honor those and we double those benefits so that they can purchase at half and much reduced cost. And so the other half of our operations are our farm store. It's a small 4-acre farm that we have. We raise a variety of produce, and as you know, it's a labor of love. It's very hard to make ends meet when you're running a small farm, and so one of the goals of our aquaculture facility is to be able to carry the farm. So those are some of our goals. We employ tribal members, and we have an internship program where we bring in the younger kids and and try to get them interested and trained up. And similar story, we had a young boy who's sitting at home on the couch, and they wanted him to have his first job, and he didn't want to be there, and he was very shy and had some difficulties interacting with people. But when we put him in the hatchery, you know, first he wouldn't touch the fish and he didn't like his job, and after you know, a short amount of time, he started. He's a very regular, and he loves his job, and he's very proud when people come into the hatchery to tell them about what we do, and he's able to handle the fish and feed the fish. So he's been able to overcome his difficulties and come out of his shell and grow. So yeah, a lot of beautiful stories here when you connect people hands-on with their soil and their community. I'm not sure how long I talked. I apologize, but thank you so much for letting me be part of your group.
Thank you. And I want to really appreciate your perseverance as a community, because as we were remembering back to our first Aroostook County tour with Slow Money Maine in 2012, we were aware that there was not even a glimmering of possibility to visit your community and new enterprise, because it hadn't happened yet. It might have been dream material that was spoken about among you, but it hadn't manifested yet. And I think it was 2 years later or 3 years later that it did. So I love that you held the vision and have worked it carefully, and are ready to move forward in an incremental step that feels manageable. I was on a food funders call about this enterprise a couple of months ago and was very inspired by your team that presented, and the caring and attention that you have given to this project and to the people that you're serving, and wanted to bring you to a larger audience. So thanks for being with us. And we're going to move to Q&A, and with Carrie's magical touch, all of our presenters will be highlighted in the center, and you can all bring questions to any people that you would like to.
I'll ask a question of Kara, if I could. Kara, where is the facility? What town is it in?
We are in Caribou, Maine.
Okay.
So on Route 1, right
Okay.
between Presque Isle and the city of Caribou. Yeah, and we'd love to have you stop by. Anybody that's interested, we'll give you a tour of our hatchery and our farm. Absolutely.
Sounds like a road trip someday.
I'm sure it does.
Thanks. Well, I'll be the old journalist here and ask a couple of other questions. Katie, how are the cooking classes doing? Have you started for the season yet doing some outdoor classes? And does it seem like people are a lot more comfortable this year than they were
We
last
actually
summer?
continued doing classes last summer, just like we were using precautions. So that we spread the tables out, had like clusters of families who knew each other to be able to work at a table together. So we actually continued our classes, and I think people are really looking forward to it this year. We were really surprised at how well we were able to accommodate COVID. I mean, it was
That's very cool.
yeah.
We struggle with that. We want to get back to doing that sort of stuff with the co-op, but we're in indoor space, and we're just not there yet with our shoppers and with ourselves.
Yeah, being outside made a huge difference, and just like having, we have a pavilion so we can set up regardless of the weather, and we're able to set up signs and walkways, and people really, really appreciated it a lot.
Yeah, if only Norway were just a little bit closer, Penny.
Crystal, I'm curious about how you're going to bring more of the community into your gardening this summer, and if you're going to be at the same place that you were.
Yeah, last year it was challenging because it was far away and transportation and COVID. So last year it was only about 10 people who were consistently up there. And then we had a couple different visitors from the community, but we've been doing weekend trips and taking families up there. So it's been easier now because we have a giant van, so we're doing better at including more people, and we got a lot of people vaccinated, so we feel better about sharing space. And yeah, it's in the same space, but it's worth it for us to be up there because we feel safe and we don't feel like one of our concerns was, sometimes people's generosity only goes as far as it goes, right, until they change their mind. And so we don't want to be on a piece of land where, we're there and we feel good and then it gets taken away. So we really value our relationship with Wild Mountain and all the people there, and we have complete autonomy over our piece of land that we're working. So we don't plan to move to a different spot.
Hey, Crystal, I'm sure you explained this, but where is your piece of land?
Yeah, it's in Green, Maine,
Okay.
outside of Louis. It's a really beautiful piece of land. And there's a pond there, so when it gets really hot, we get to go swim.
Great.
I wanted to ask Karen what the fish are fed in the aquaculture program.
I can't tell you the brand of the name. I'm not entirely sure, but our hatchery manager purchased it from Oregon, and it's very high quality natural products. Other fish based, and so it produces a nice high quality tasting fish. Managing the facility, so there's keeping the fish healthy and less stress, and he's got to manage the all the oxygen in the tank, and the number of fish in the tank has to be very well managed, which is difficult when as fish are growing and you're trying to get them out the door. It's a moving kind of target. But we've never had disease. We've never had to treat for diseases, and we're pretty proud of that. And that's that's important when you're trying to feed a clean product to your community.
So the fish are fed that's made from other fish.
I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it's yeah, I don't. It's yeah, I'm not entirely sure what's in there, but it's an organic, high quality fish food.
Okay, thank you. And
Mhm.
Bonnie, I wanted to ask you if you could say again the name of the magazine that your article about food insecurity was in.
Oh, it's called Jumbo, and it's a newspaper that is put out in based out of Portland. The nonprofit Ladder to the Moon is the publisher, and it reflects work being done in African communities, primarily in the Portland, Lewiston, Auburn area.
Oh,
But
okay.
But it has also expanded to other cultural groups within the state. hence the Hispanic group, Latinx. And it comes out in physical form and also digitally. AMJAMBO. Jumbo, which means greetings in Swahili.
Oh, great.
Hello.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say that I love everything about the slow food movement. So I'm so glad that's going to be part of Maine. So thank you.
If you're on Instagram and want to follow us at Slow Food Mid Coast Maine, you'll be able to you'll be in the loop once we get things rolling. You're also
Okay.
welcome to connect with me. I left my information at the beginning of the chat, but it's info@mainesanctuary.com is my email.
Oh,
You wanna-
wonderful. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. It'll be fun.
And that's a reminder that the strength of our network is that all of you make the connections that provide the amazing work that comes out of this group. So make your connections longer lasting than this gathering of an hour and a half as you leave, following up with the chat information and anything else you can get your hands on. Kara, I just want to ask a follow-up from the funders meeting, because you're a nonprofit, you are permitted to speak about money, but since it's a slow money group, I'm curious to know how your funding attempts are going, if you're aware of that part of your endeavor.
We are still continuing to try and look for funds. You know, there's been a couple USDA grants, farmers market grants. I sat on a call today for LAMP. I can't remember the acronym. That's through USDA, but it stands for, I think it's Local Agriculture Marketing Program Funding, because marketing is a critical part of this being successful. Where we're so far north, so there's a lot of opportunities there, which would be really interesting for this group. So, you know, and to be honest, one of the difficulties I had not only was the short turnaround deadline on that one, but that we had to have partners. And so this is just such a perfect group to be talking with. You all might be interested in that as well. And I'm trying to figure out how to find the synergies and how to, with all of you, and how to keep this going long term. Because, for example, I know in our store, we sell our products, but I feel like we'd have more people coming into the store if we had more shelf-stable products to offer. And so maybe we can all sort of boost each other in that way. I'm still trying to figure out how that works. But yeah, it's a work in progress, Bonnie. Yeah, it's
Always.
yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I wonder how we can continue to connect after this. There's got to be a way. I know we all share the same local food mission, and so how can each support one another in that? You know, it's an interesting thought.
Reaching out encourages being reached back to. So I would just encourage working from your passions and your values to create the community that we need and want, the larger community beyond our own endeavors.
Katie, I'd love
Yeah.
to reach out to you. You came up as an example at the Maine Convergence. on community gardens in a conversation that I had. And we have a project going here in Union with the Come Spring Food Pantry that's going to have some community gardens go with it, and food hub. That we have the farmers market there now, food pantry and a kitchen. And so I think a road trip to Norway is in the future for me. So
That'd be great. I love to meet you and show you around and, have you see what it looks like on the ground.
great. Thank you. Thank
And
you.
I actually have to go teach a class, so it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. If anybody, wants any more information, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'd be happy to connect. And bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Katie.
Other questions or comments? Jump right in. We keep it informal in this group.
Well, another question. So Michelle, how far are you along with Slow Money Mid-Coast? What are you?
Slow food.
Or
Yep.
Slow Food, I'm sorry. Yes.
So yes, this just came about, very recently, and so we're in phase 2 of our application process. It's a little bit of a to-do, and so that includes like doing the nonprofit paperwork now. So we're under the umbrella of Slow Food USA, but we still have to do our individual work there. And I was in fact speaking to my treasurer today, giving her that little nudge, because it's really it's the stuff that she has to do, the paperwork that she has to do, so that we can then get like all of our slow food la-di-da, which is our email and our really run with it. So right now we're still in planning process. I would love to have somebody farther north, because right now we're all like in the Phippsburg area or the Damerscott area. We don't have a lot of representation farther north, and maybe it's going to be that we're going to have a southern mid-coast region and a northern mid-coast region, because there really is it's just a mind-blowing amount of resources and opportunity. So that's where we're at. We're still basically in our formulation.
We have a food council, the Knox County Food Council. And so I'd love to be able to connect with you around.
Oh, Lorraine Francis, you are on my list of people to speak with, because when I talked to Bonnie and Carrie, they were like, you guys talking to Lorraine Francis. So yes, marvelous. Nice to chat with you.
Nice to chat with you too.
Look forward to chatting with you more.
Yes.
So I've been so impressed by all the food you've grown and moved, and I know beyond the land, you all have. I'm just wondering what you've developed in terms of some of the infrastructure, like storage or warehouse or moving vehicles, and what you might need around that too. What some of the needs are to support this ongoing work, both infrastructure and money. I mean, what you might need.
Was that for me?
Yeah.
I think I didn't hear the beginning part. I'm like, who? That's a good question. Yeah, we want to build a shed, and we want to build an outhouse, and we want to have a root cellar. So we need all of those things. Also, another big challenge is paying our organizers from the community who don't have a work permit. So that's hard. Just like thinking about equity and valuing people's times, and I have been doing the work unpaid for many years, but now I'm getting paid, and it doesn't feel good when I'm getting paid and other people are not getting paid, but I don't know how to resolve that part of it. But yeah, taking care of people, that's one of the challenges. And it's hard because we don't have a lot of cold storage. Like, we have fork and we have some cold storage at our warehouse, but for the amount of that we're moving, producing, but also just other donations that we get, it's not sufficient. And in winter months, it's like sort of okay if we hold food for a day, but now it's not. So we would like to build a walk-in, but we don't really have a permanent location right now. So we're trying to see where we can end up long-term, because the space that we're using right now is donated, but it's not a permanent place for us.
So does that include Wayside not being permanently accessible for you because they've been a,
Wayside won't store anything for us.
oh, okay.
Yep.
That's why you found Fork Food Lab.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, which is great for just kind of like extras, but it's only two racks, like 3 shelves.
I see.
We're moving tens of thousands of pounds of food, so it's not, it fits maybe like 10, 15 boxes, banana boxes.
Is there anything in the new debt relief for BIPOC growers, the $5 billion in direct aid that could be the American Rescue Plan that could be applied?
I don't know. Somebody has to tell me that. If you want to research, or you know somebody who can research that for me and help me figure that out, that would be helpful.
I can send you information by email if I had your email address.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't know if anybody saw, but if you don't know how to save the entire chat, you can save it all by clicking on those 3 little dots that are in a box next to the word file down at the very bottom of your chat. And then it'll save all of those links into one document for you, so you don't have to write them all down now. Hopefully you saw that earlier, but you can save the entire chat if you want to.
I'm going to say goodbye. I've got a 5:30 meeting. Thank you for all of your sharing and stories and wonderfulness. This was great. And thank you, Bonnie and Carrie.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank all of you. I think we're going to wind down as well, unless there's one more question that somebody is longing to ask.
Thank you very much for the meeting.
You're welcome, and please make these connections ongoing. Don't stop here with the inspiration, because it's all around you out there every day. And we can all keep going with this. So have a great growing season internally and externally. And thank you all for showing up, and presenters for bringing your varied and very interesting offerings to the group. And we'll stay connected as we can.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Good luck. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good job, everybody.
Close. Can I close?
Yeah, go ahead.